Fear not, denizens, parade is here, aka the bringer of rain, aka father of the sea and sun, aka king of the core. And today I have a special guest with me. You've seen him before, host of the Celebration Cantina, Uncle Sheev on twitch.tv. Most importantly, my loyal co-host of the Acolyte in Review, the commish, Eli from the Fan Awakens on Instagram. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing great. You know, that intro was exceptional. And I do think that, like, you know, we did Andor together as far
Yes.
as reviews. We did the Acolyte. And I don't know. I feel like, does the Acolyte, is it like almost like a purple heart on the chest? I'm sorry. I did.
Scarlet letter. It's more of a scarlet letter on
Scarlet
a
letter,
big
yeah.
scarlet A, actually.
I'm not talking down on the show either. It's just it's a good memory that I'll never forget.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of, and if it was, it's you know, we're together here in our trauma. But
Yeah.
and stay tuned for Skeleton Crew and Review. That'll definitely be a thing that we can both do. But today we're here to talk about the Star Wars Celebration cosplay guide. So Star Wars Celebration on Instagram posts updates and news things. For instance, tickets when it came out. We have a video that we talked about how we purchased the tickets, what our experience was. They talk about hotel blocks and things like that. But we're here to talk about the cosplay guide because on this channel, I cosplay and I have a lot of cosplayers come on and costumers. And I thought this would be an apt conversation to have with people who maybe haven't checked it out. And Eli, is being the host of the Star Wars Celebration Cantina, is the best person to bring along here because he really likes this stuff and wants to make sure that you guys know what to expect when going to Celebration and also what to expect when you want to go in costume. Eli, how many celebrations have you been to?
This will be my third.
Nice.
This will be my third.
Yeah, and this would only be my second. I've been to conventions before, but neither of us have been to Japan.
Nope.
Eli, you went to which ones again?
I went to Chicago and Anaheim.
Okay, so this is also, what would you call it?
First
overseas,
one out of country.
out of the country. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Japan, they have some guidelines here, and we have it pulled up on our end. You guys will see it on the screen, and it just opens up. I'll put the link if you want to see the link in the description. It says the Star Wars Cosplay Guide will help you plan your cosplay at our event next April. Please read the information below carefully. It includes details about what types of cosplay props are allowed at the event, information about cosplay changing rooms, and Japanese etiquette when it comes to traveling locally in your cosplay. I'm glad, shout out to Chocodoc, friend of the show, Claudia. She was like, hey, she was talking about her costumes, and she was like, it's going to be tough for her to do like Ahsoka there because she has the full makeup, like she does the orange skin and everything. And she was saying the difficulty it would be to do it in Japan. And I was like, oh, I said, is there rules and stuff? And she's like, yeah, there's rules. It's like kind of frowned upon, but this makes it clear on what Japanese culture as visitors, how we would respect being there in costume. And I didn't know it until she said it. And I'm glad I looked because there's some stuff on here that would fly here in the States, but might not fly there.
You might not want to be on the train in a full Orn Free Ta outfit.
Or just a full-on red Imperial Guard or even stormtroopers from what I've read so far.
Yep.
So it says, here is a quick overview of items in cosplay that are prohibited from our event. It says possession and or use of any of the following items is prohibited in connection with the event. A firearm, ammunition, knife, or weapon of any kind. That's pretty obvious. Like, you're not going to bring in guns or weapons. Just use common sense here. This is a all ages event, you know, where there shouldn't be any violence or of any kind. So that seems like a no-brainer. Objects or toys that appear to be firearms, ammunition, knives, or weapons. Now, here's where it starts getting gray, right? Because we're talking about Star Wars. Things look like guns. Things look like weapons. We'll get to it unless you feel compelled to talk about it now. Because I think in my mind I go, wait, we can't bring blasters? There is a prop section that covers blasters, lightsabers towards the bottom. But I think what this is referring to is props that look like actual guns, actual knives, actual weapons, not just like
Yeah.
fantasy or
I
anything
think
like that.
a lot of this, thankfully, and there's a few of these items in this list that are different than some of the other celebrations, but I think a lot of it is similar.
Yeah.
Thankfully, with the blasters and the weapons and all that, I do think that there are some restrictions that are a little more clear, like you said later in the article,
Yeah.
that kind of point out what exactly you can bring and what you can't.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of people are going to be traveling into Japan, so I
Yes.
mean, that's a whole nother story of what you're willing to bring and pay for, in luggage and what I mean, you can't bring a gun into your luggage anyways, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
there's a lot there, but we can get to the kind of the further nitty gritty of that in a
Yeah.
bit.
That's a great point, though, because if you travel to, let's say, Disneyland in Anaheim, the Santa Ana airport, they understand what the lightsabers look like when they're coming in or leaving. They're used to it. But now
Yeah.
we're talking about possibly like LAX going international. You're at this point going to have a lightsaber blade and lightsaber with you on a 14-hour, flight. Do you want to do that, or a large gun prop, or a
Yeah.
rifle prop? Like it really depends on how you want to go about and execute your travel plans, because it's not just about the convention now. It's actually getting from through a few airports, maybe overlays in other countries,
Customs, all that kind of stuff.
customs.
Yeah.
There's a lot. I'm leaning towards not bringing any weapons at all for my costumes, just to avoid the hassle of this part.
That's kind of where I was leaning to. I haven't cosplayed before, I haven't
Yeah.
bounded before, but I was eyeing this celebration as maybe dipping my toe in that
Yeah.
world. And I mean, I kind of already made the cognitive choice of choosing something where I don't think you need a weapon for any cosplay.
No.
If like you can't cosplay without the weapon, I don't know. But
I do feel like it's way cooler to have one for
of
myself,
course,
but I
of
yeah, I get what
course.
you're saying. It's not
It'd be like
necessary.
if you were Baze Malvis without the big gun.
Yeah.
That does take away some of the aura of the costume,
Yeah.
but you can still do it. You know what I mean? People will still know that's Baze.
Right.
Uh, but I do think I agree. Like bringing like an E11 blaster prop could be potentially an issue. You know what I mean? At
Yeah.
some point, because it's not you're going through so many steps,
Hmm.
and there's just a chance that in one of those steps there's some sort of issue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just something to think about.
Yeah. And we have a little bit of time, for people who are prepping. That's why we're talking about it now, is because
Yep.
you want to make these choices now, then at crunch time when you're packing your bag. You're like,
Yeah, you don't want to be like, do I bring this? Do I not?
Yeah.
Is it okay? Is it not? Yeah.
And also, I mean, we're going to probably talk about it too. A lot of these Mandalorian helmets, they're not easy to carry. I know a few friends who went to Europe, and a lot of them you have to use that as like your carry on. You're holding your bucket, and that's going to be in your lap. I don't know if it'll fit under the seat. Like, it just depends on the airplane. When I went to Thailand, there wasn't as much space in the lower class seats. I can't imagine having my Mando helmet in my lap or under my feet for 14 hours. Like, it's not ideal. It's not ideal. So that's why we're talking about it today. The next point, the third one, self-defense or restraining devices. I'm guessing maybe pepper spray, tasers.
Pepper spray, handcuffs. I don't know.
Yeah, it's better probably to not bring any of that stuff. I don't know that there's like high crime in Japan. I can't believe there is, just because there's
Sure.
probably stricter laws. But just err on the side of caution. Don't bring any of that.
Even like binders or something if they're part of your costume. I don't know, like
Right. That's a
things
good
like
point.
that. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, that's a good point too. Fireworks or other explosive or flammable objects. I'm pretty sure you can't bring that on American flights.
Yeah.
And that being said, check what is allowed in the country outside of the convention. There's going to be other stuff there.
That too.
Like some types of foods can't be brought into other countries or out. Yeah, they have other laws there. If you're from the States listening to this, you need to look into this stuff before you travel outside of the country. It mentions glass containers. I don't know why. Maybe a glass water bottle. I wouldn't just.
I don't know.
It's just not something I would do.
Like some of these are pretty like self-explanatory, and these are just what's prohibited from the event. Like not even the flight. Flights are a whole different thing.
Right.
This is just the event itself. And there's some coming up that I think I definitely saw at Anaheim that aren't allowed. So
Yeah.
keep a note of. I'll mention those when we get to there.
Yeah. I'm maybe even a prop that has like a glass, like if you're
Yeah.
carrying some kind of thing, maybe, right? If it was part of your costume, potentially might not be able to bring it. Recreational devices. This one's interesting, such as drones, remote controlled toys, skateboards, scooters, inline skates, or shoes with built-in wheels. So skates, don't bring them. Rollerblades, don't bring them. I don't think there's any Star Wars cosplay that I could think of that would use it. I would be interested if some costumes, I don't know if Star Wars does it, but one wheels are popular for costumes.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if the Disneyland droids count as remote control toys.
I think they would. I have a feeling they would.
And it's interesting that it would fall into that, but
Because I think a lot of this, because I don't know, it's still Repop, right? Or they might have gone away from them, but
not
either
sure.
way, it's not Disney who usually actually puts on the event,
Correct.
like who handles it, and
Yeah.
then the event center itself will have its own set of rules.
Yep.
And so I think, like, obviously one thing is the people who build droids, that's a whole different thing, and you have to go through a whole different process. But I always err on the side of caution with these things. Like, if you're like, oh, I don't know, maybe you have a kid and they want to bring their remote control droid, I
Yeah.
would just say maybe talk them out of it, because
Yeah.
it'll probably be better to talk them out of it at the hotel than to have to throw it away or leave it
Oh, right.
outside. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because
Yeah.
if you go there, chances are you're not going to go home or go back to put it back in the hotel.
Yeah.
Um,
And the droids aren't very light either. They're pretty hefty. And then
yeah,
again, we're talking about just traveling outside the country. But shout out to the Droid Smith Union. Like that's their thing, right? And they have the
yep.
backpacks and they like showing them off. And I think that's great. But do you risk the hassle of not being able to bring it in, or, and it also depends on security. We talked in the last
It
one where
does.
security was really light in Anaheim. They weren't even checking tickets.
That's an understatement. They didn't care. You want to come in? Be my guest.
Yeah, so it really depends on this part. I mean, I'm not advocating bringing any like weapons or anything like that, but with like remote control toys, you might be able to smuggle a droid in a backpack, like if they're not,
Yeah.
you're not like driving it in, but it's here in the rules. So if you can't argue with it, right? It's a policy. So yeah, that's up to discretion for whatever you guys decide to do. We're just reading the rules and what's prohibited at the event. Strollers, which are greater than 31 inches wide, 52 inches in length. I'm not bringing my kid, so this doesn't apply to me, but parents who are, keep that in mind, not to bring your big strollers. Folding chairs.
That's the one I wanted to note.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because I might be considered bringing my stool,
Yep.
but yeah, I don't know. What do you?
It's
What's your
tricky
thoughts?
because with Anaheim, I remember I was so jealous when I was waiting in line for panels and someone just pulls out the chair from their backpack or whatever, small, but still stool, folding chairs. I've seen them all. And I'm like, man, I wish I would have brought that,
Yeah, yeah,
This is tricky. Like, I can certainly see a world where, here's my thing. If it's cheap enough, I say, and don't quote me, I say it's worth the risk.
yeah,
Because if it's like a $14 folding stool or something, and so
yeah,
you gotta get rid of that, you know what? I paid all this money to go to Japan. Oh well, I
yeah,
tried.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
I do think it's worth having something like that. But if you do, I just say be prepared for someone who is up on the rules and is actually checking everything. Because I don't know,
Yeah.
they might be. Because Anaheim, you could probably bring in a gun. They don't care. They did not care.
Yeah, that was
Um,
pretty light, pretty light.
but you never know. So like, just I honestly think I will try to bring in a small stool,
Yeah,
depending on a couple factors, but
yeah,
just be prepared to not be able to bring it in. That's
yeah,
like the
yeah. You got to be prepared to let it go, right? Like if
yeah.
they say you can't, it's either getting in or not getting in. So I think I'm also leaning towards bringing it for comfort. My group, they had a extendable stool, and like maybe you could argue that it's not a folding chair. I saw another cosplayer with it, and it kind of matched with his Mandalorian outfit, so it was actually kind of hard to detect that it was a extending chair. But I think it's a game changer when you are standing in lines a bunch. My issue is it's heavy, like it's pretty hefty. So as a carry-on, no. Maybe if you had room in your check-in or check on underneath the plane, I might do it. Just depends. It just really depends. That one's the
Yeah.
one. like
It
you
all comes down
said,
to how much I have on me to take to the,
convention.
the flight, convention, everything. Going to
Yeah,
Anaheim was easy. We're from California. We just drove,
yeah,
and so you can bring a lot in a car. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, this is different. This is gonna be different. Selfie sticks. I don't know if people even use selfie sticks very much. I think you, like in Anaheim, I've seen people get away with like the gimbals and stuff, but I don't know if
yeah.
that's considered a selfie stick. But
I,
it's on here.
I've been at events and things where it said no selfie sticks and gimbals were included
Oh, okay.
in that. So like it's a bit of a gray area still.
Yeah.
I know those gimbals can be quite expensive, so
Yes.
that's sort of like one of those things where I would consider, I would go back and take it take it back to the hotel.
Yeah.
With something to and here's the thing with like security for events, just in my experience, it's tough because while they have these guidelines, not everybody will enforce it the same,
Right.
and not everybody views it the same. You might go to
Right.
one line, and to be honest, they might see your gimbal and not care.
Right.
You might go to one, and they will care. So
Yeah.
like, it is tough, but obviously, as long as you know what's there, it makes it easier on you because you know what to expect going into it, right?
Yeah. I mean, even in going into Disneyland, right? You could look at the security in line and see who's checking backpacks harder than the next guy in the other line, the other security. Not saying sneaking stuff in, but
Yep,
even
yep.
just attitude or how they're feeling that day. Like I usually try to, hey, how's your day going? Just to make it like easier for them to not think I'm trying to sneak something in when I'm not. But yeah, it just depends on who's doing security that day.
But also, yeah, I think that's a good thing to note. Let's be nice to everybody.
For sure.
Everybody, people are working. They don't want to hassle. They just want to get the line through. So,
Yeah.
I feel like just in general, the nicer you are to people, usually the easier time you have.
I agree with that sentiment. Yeah, just treat everybody like you would want to be treated, and just put it into context. They're trying to help thousands of people get in this convention. They're not trying to hold up our fun. And they're human. They have good days and bad days like the rest of us. So let's be nice to each other. Balloons. Sorry, Eli, you can't bring your balloon collection. I'm sorry, bud, but
That one hurt because it's easy to bring along. I was really excited to bring all my custom balloons, my collection, show them off. So that one sets me back a bit.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sorry to anyone who was looking forward to seeing my balloon collection. It's not happening this year.
Make sure you follow the Fan Awakens to see.
Maybe an offsite. Stay tuned.
Yeah, for sure. Another one, Eli, for me, excess exposure to skin. Exposure of underwear, anything that appears to be underwear.
That is interesting though, because at Anaheim there's I won't say plenty, but there's
Leia's.
Definitely, Leia's and all kinds of different cosplays where that probably won't be as lenient,
Yeah, so if you're listening to this and you have Slave Leia or you have or Slayer or Hut Slayer Leia.
Hut Slayer
Leia. Sorry, I'm from the OT. It's hard to get with the terms from what we call it now. Consider maybe not doing it. Again, we are visiting another country. This is not America. They have different rules in Japan. We're guests. You don't go into someone else's house and then start making the rules, right?
It's just like it's tough because like I have nothing against any of these cosplays, but like it's gonna suck if you show up and you spend time getting ready and everything. Like, sorry, you can't come in. You know what I mean? It's just how it is.
And this includes like Twi'leks too. Anyone who's thinking of going shirtless at all, just be aware that's part of the rules. They don't have to let you in. You don't have American rights in Japan. Like, I'm sorry.
I remember there's a guy who did like a gender bend. He was George Lucas in like a plaid bikini on a chain. So I don't think they're letting that guy in either. You know what I mean?
I'm glad I didn't see that. Well, or even Mauls or Dathmirians, they go shirtless. I appreciate that. Like, these guys working hard to make their bodies right. These ladies too. But just we can't do it here. You can't do it here, unfortunately. This one's also interesting. Wearing of actual uniforms or military uniforms, current or old. Fictional ones from manga, anime, or movies are acceptable. So I like that it's spelled out, like you don't want to come in actual like your fatigues or whatever. As long as it's a character. And I think there is a line where it's like military-ish, kind of looks like, old World War era Star Wars stuff. There's a line, but just in case,
I think it's important to point out too, just because someone could be like, oh, maybe I'll theme like a actual military uniform for whatever. Maybe it's a Japanese military uniform or
Yeah.
what. I don't know, but that probably wouldn't be the best idea for this one. But you can. I still think it's nice. You're right that they say, if it's from movies, anime, it's acceptable.
Yeah. Yeah. I would just, if you are, just definitely have a reference photo on hand for that.
Yeah, smart.
Carry that
Smart.
with you. But I don't think that would be an issue unless you're not really cosplaying Star Wars and trying to come in as something different. Note, management has a zero tolerance policy for weapons of any kind. Event security and local law enforcement officials will treat anything that looks like a real gun as a real gun. So we're doubling down again on the zero tolerance for firearms, knives, weapons, ammunition. Just don't do it. Just don't mess around with it. And I can't imagine anyone listening to this not understanding this point, but we're saying it. It's here.
You know what? To be fair, when like in Anaheim especially, I didn't see it as much in Chicago, but like in Anaheim, I remember seeing a lot of people dressing their blasters for the event at the event. Like they brought it, and then when they got there, like, okay, let's put the orange tape on the end, or this and that. And I think in this case, I think that should already be done. Like, I don't think you should be riding the train to the event with your blaster as it like weathered and looking like a, like a gun. Just it's different. I mean, there could be a potential language barrier. All these things.
For sure.
Like I'm sure there's plenty of people who speak English, and that's not what I'm saying. But
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like it's pretty clear that you should probably err on the side of caution more than you maybe would at somewhere like Anaheim. Of course, there's gonna be plenty of people around, and they're gonna see all like, oh look, there's a 1,000 nerds walking down the street all dressed up. I don't think they're gonna think, everybody's carrying real guns, but still,
someone could be, and they rather just let's not even worry about this. Like, let's try not to even have this issue come up. Those were great points. There's another point to made. We're recording this in October. You're on notice for about 6 months of planning before Japan, and that's not including the travel side, right? And the reason why I'm saying this is cosplayers are notorious for crunch time, and let's try to make these decisions before. I'm guilty of it. I don't know what I'm going to wear. I'm not sure what I'm going to bring, but this helps as to figure that out, to like weed down any like consideration that I would have like for bays. I'm like, I'm not going to probably bring bays. The likelihood of that is very low at this point. And I save it for a local thing, something in this country, something in California for us. But yeah, figure that out now so you don't have to have any headaches later on, because you want your day to kick off right, and this is usually your first, this is the entry to get in. You don't want to be standing out there holding up the line where people have been waiting and they're anticipating getting in, and you're the jerk who is arguing about your prop weapon here, or showing a little bit too much skin. Again, this is not our country. We go by what their rules are. Rules for Star Wars specific props at Star Wars Celebration. So it starts with blasters and cannons. All prop weapons must be created with lightweight plastic or foam. The tip of the prop weapon should be sealed and covered with an orange cap. Any prop weapon cannot be functional to project or launch any objects.
Yeah, I think that's a big one too. I think this was the one that is probably one of the most important, just because it's very specific with an orange cap and sealed.
Yeah.
Like, I know a lot of times people were putting tape or whatever the case in that. I don't know. That might not do it. You know what I mean? This time, it might have to be more of a toy. I know some people are exceptional at crafting these things, and wood and metal and I think that stuff is extraordinary. But I mean, plastic or light foam is pretty specific also. And I think especially when you make those props, I know they take a ton of time, and it just sucks if if they deny it. And then you're in that position. You probably waited through a line. You're up there. Do you discard it, or do you take it back to your hotel? And then like it's just it's a whole headache.
Yeah. So I have a prop gun here, and this is a Nerf gun from Andor, and it still functions as such. So you see there's the pull with the spring inside, and then at the end there's like a light, and then I could fit a dart in here. Now with the rules, is this considered light plastic or not? Right?
I would say yes.
It could be.
I think the only issue maybe is the tip.
Right.
Not being sealed in orange.
Right. So the Nerf guns usually are orange. You know, it's painted up because in pictures I want this to look like a prop weapon from the movie. One thing I was gonna say is whoever makes 3D printing, you know, any of my friends who've been on the podcast, create a orange tip thing,
Art.
right? And
Yep.
there's gonna be various sizes because Nerf guns are very popular. I know not all of them are, but you know, you're 3D printing guns already, and orange filament isn't probably that difficult to get, but it would be a nice little thing to have to maybe cap off these. The only thing is, like, now I personally don't want to get rid of being able to shoot darts out of it, but if I could cap it, maybe hot glue or something that kind of keeps it tight if they check, would be ideal. But I just wanted to show that as an example. And this is small. I was considering it, you know, maybe, but we'll see. But I also don't want to not have a Nerf gun, you know, a functional one. But I might be able to, you know, I might consider just gluing something on there for the time being.
But as an example, also, it looks like a gun. Like, if you don't know,
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Gun, you know what I mean?
It looks like a gun, so maybe not. I don't know. One other thing I wanted to talk about at cons, because I mean, like I said, I went to a lot of conventions in my time, and part of when you bring a prop weapon, and for anyone who hasn't gone, they'll zip tie your weapon, and usually they'll zip tie here or here, and it usually has it's a brighter color than, so you'll see like a yellow or green or orange, and you can ask them where you would like it to be zip tied. I personally would rather have it on where I'm holding it, so it's covered in pictures instead of here, and they'll leave the excess. What I usually do is I'll just bring in like a nail clipper and then just clip the end, but you don't want to clip it off, right? You don't want to clip it completely off because it's security wise, they're checking your weapon. That's a tip if you're bringing a weapon in. Try to do it where your hand's covering it for pictures, because when you're taking cool pictures or have like a great photographer taking your picture, a zip tie kind of really ruins it. So that's another little tip for anyone bringing in prop weapons. Okay, so lightsabers. Metal and plastic lightsaber hilts are welcome at Star Wars Celebration. Please note, if you use your lightsaber or lightsaber hilt in a way that might or does hurt an individual or property on site, you will be escorted out of the show with no refund. So don't swing that thing around. Do not swing that thing around because you could get kicked out. I mean, lightsabers are synonymous with Star Wars. People are going to bring them. Personally, I wouldn't bring the Disney ones. They're too heavy. The sabers are very, very heavy. But if it goes with your costume, I mean, again, you're traveling with it, you most likely will be able to get in with it. But it's just something to consider just for comfort wise. Anyone who hasn't cosplayed before at conventions, when I'm making a cosplay and I'm thinking about what I'm going to wear at a cosplay, the two things I think about most, mobility and comfort. Because not everywhere is going to have great AC. Not everywhere you can sit down really easily. Can I take this off? Can I use the bathroom? Any new cosplayers in this scene, consider that, please, because it'll just make your whole con more enjoyable. I have a giant 7-foot cosplay that I wear. I made sure that I could move in it. I could take it off easily if anything happens. I could use the bathroom or sit down. With most Star Wars stuff, it's soft goods, so you probably won't have that same issue. But if you were thinking about bringing something big, like if you want to dress like a Wookiee, or like Eli's poster back there of
Claude.
of Claude, you know, you might want to consider being able to jump out of that thing easily. Like if you were by yourself, could you get it on and off?
Yeah.
But lightsabers, to me, they just get heavy. You have to carry it around in hand or on your belt. And if it's affixed to you, that's still weight. So,
you know what? I think it's a good opportunity, though, to maybe, if you haven't, go buy a plastic one and try and dress it up, you know? Make it look a little nicer, make it look a little more metallic, do some crafting there.
Yeah.
Because you're right. I've thought about, like, will I bring a lightsaber hilt? And all the ones I have are metal and heavy, and I don't want to carry them around. So that would probably be the answer.
Yeah. Or do you have another thing you would want to consider is the holsters, like the ones that they sell at Disney.
Yep.
That is considered another bag on a plane.
Yeah.
So is that your carry-on? Is that a check-in? If you put it underneath the plane, they're just kind of checking those things in. They're not really taking care of it. You know, you won't.
You're right. It's a pain. I remember flying back from Chicago. So many people bought lightsabers out there, and they were all their carry-ons.
Yeah.
And they're like, and it's tough to fit those things like in the plane because I mean it's a long, slender box,
Yeah.
and like it just isn't ideal for putting overhead. It's not ideal putting under your seat. You
Yeah.
can't. So there, I remember that was a whole thing where they were trying to figure out like, okay, who's like, how many people's lightsabers are going to fit up there. It
Yeah.
was a mess on the plane.
I'll tell
It
I'll
was a
tell you
mess.
this: China Airlines, it's a different layout of a plane than a Southwest or a Delta. The plane I was on was like a cubby that did close, but it's not 5 to 6 feet
Yep.
long like it is here in the States, where you could just kind of slide it up. Most of the people with their lightsabers have to keep it next to them as their like personal item. And again, we're talking 10 plus hours with that infringing your movement, your comfortability if you're in the middle seat. Like, come on. So really consider that. I mean, I would love to bring my lightsaber. That was one of my ideas, but now talking through it with you, Eli, I'm
Yeah.
like,
Like
I
for
don't
me,
know.
it's always just a hilt, if anything.
Yeah.
But even then, yeah.
Yeah. And they don't have a Batu in the Tokyo Disney. So I don't think it's likely you'll be able to get a lightsaber there. You might be able to find a toy somewhere in town, but it won't be like, just consider that. Because one thing you could possibly find is a folding chair in Japan.
Yep.
And it's probably cheaper than it is here. So, like, that's a possibility. But lightsaber, that's going to be at your own discretion. You want to have a good time at these things. We're just talking it out, making sure you guys are making informed decisions. Bladed weapons. Now, this one's interesting. Bladed weapons must be made with lightweight plastic or foam. So, conventions here, they have bladed weapons that are dull, but they're still metal. Yeah. And I don't know if those vendors will be here at the Star Wars convention, but it's just don't bring any swords, I guess. Same thing, like even worse carry than a lightsaber.
It'd be such a pain to travel with that anyways.
Yeah. So again,
maybe you got it like that and you can pay for that extra sized checked bag and you want to do that for whatever, more power to you.
Yeah.
I will not, but
so keep those in mind. That's pretty standard stuff, like with the blasters and lightsabers. Something that some people could look over is the cosplay FAQ. So let's go through that too. They're the drop downs at the bottom. It says, what is the cosplay etiquette in Japan? This was something I touched on earlier. It says, it is not customary to travel on public transit in intricate cosplays, such as full armor suits, body extensions, or larger gowns. And I love this. In parentheses, says, think Stormtroopers, Jabba the Hutt, or Padme Amidala. We have changing rooms available by reservation on site for fans traveling to the convention center. More than on that below. We ask you to follow Japanese etiquette and wait to change into your cosplay until you arrive at Mukahari Messe. So most of the traveling there is done, I'm guessing, assuming like on their train stations. I don't know how easy it is to get Ubers there. I'm sure it's possible, but just in general, just traveling to the convention, it's kind of frowned upon. I don't know why. I'm not like ingrained in Japanese culture. It might just look awkward or whatever, but the celebration is saying, hey, let's be considerate. Again, we're guests there. You're going to have to change at the convention. So consider that as well. You're going to have to bring a luggage if you're a stormtrooper, be able to fit your Jabba the Hutt cosplay in some kind of transport. And then you're going to have to pay a little bit more to keep that stuff in the locker room. And it's below. We'll get to it. But and they'll say soft goods and like kind of normal Star Wars stuff can fly. But for the bigger stuff, the full armor suits, I'm talking about like my Mandalorians, my troopers. Keep this in mind.
I do want to say, though, with that, like I know we'll get into a bit more later, but it is pretty optimal right now if you're traveling from the States, price-wise. With the conversion rate, it's the best it's been in a very long time. Yeah. And so luckily, if it stays like this in the next 6 months, which I'm guessing it will, I'm no finance expert,
sure,
but it's pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Pretty reasonable, yeah.
Yeah, but it is extra cost, though. The little things will add up, right?
100%. So, you're looking at like 10 to $30 a day, depending on what you're doing.
Yeah. And shout out to Chakadoc again. She would be doing orange makeup at the convention, or if you're a Zabrak, you would be applying prosthetics at the convention. Like, it's not going to be easy to do that in a bathroom or a locker room with multiple people. It's not like you're getting like a private room.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the standard for cosplay won't be as high due to that fact. So keep that in mind, because it is just, there's a little bit more friction and in the way of actually executing something that you would see here, like at San Diego Comic-Con or New York Comic-Con, because the rules are different. So consider that.
I also think it's worth saying that, like, there are things that you absolutely can dress in on the way there.
Yeah.
If you're dressing as like Han.
Yes.
Or like Finn. Yeah. Or,
more Disney bound,
like
more Disney
bounding type.
Yeah.
But even, things like that. That's totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, once you get into intricacies and more than that, something that, it's about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it actually touches that same note here in the next one. What are the different types of cosplay I can wear? Casual cosplay is any soft fabric costume that is like daily clothing. We ask that you carry any additional large cloaks, capes, and accessories in your backpack if you're traveling to the convention center. And I love this. For casual cosplays, think of Rey, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker. So you're on the same wavelength there, Eli. Like, bounds are encouraged, but if you have probably like a Jedi robe or, anything large, like the capes, think of Krennic, think of
Orn Frita again.
Think of Lando.
Yeah.
You're going to want to keep that in a suitcase or a backpack, so you're going to have to be able to carry that through. And then intricate cosplay is more detailed than anything that is more than your daily clothing. If you plan to wear full suit, body extensions, or larger gowns, you will need to travel out of cosplay and get ready on site. More information on the registration process below. For intricate cosplay, think of Padme Amidala, stormtroopers, and full armored characters, or Jabba the Hutt. Please keep all Star Wars prop weapons, such as blasters and lightsabers, discreetly hidden away in your bags as you travel to the convention center. There's a lot of people that don't know conventions are going on, and to see someone fumbling around with a prop gun like mine could be misconstrued as a weapon. Like, if I'm just like moving stuff and you see just this part come out of my bag, someone could call the authorities on me, and then now I have to deal with the Japanese authorities. There's a language barrier. It might be not worth bringing it, right? Something to consider.
I think the good thing is that they actually list it pretty detailed as far as like what does and doesn't work. Face paint, big cosplays, that's pretty much, you got to get ready there.
Yeah.
And there are more details. This is planning ahead stuff, reservation stuff, all that kind of stuff. You're not going to be in the comfort of your home or your hotel room alone necessarily getting ready. So maybe even worth test runs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Test runs for sure. Making sure this is something, like, I know you stressed it already, but you can apply your makeup or apply your prosthetics, whatever the case, in like, it's not something you don't want to spend 4 hours at the convention in this locker room the whole day to go out there for an hour and a half, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and then now you have to start planning arrival time, right? Because what if you want to go to a certain panel at when the doors open? Like, that happens, right? Like, the doors open at 8 and somehow the panel starts at 8, right? Like, that happened in Anaheim. We're like, what? That doesn't make any sense. You would have to plan time to be in those locker rooms, to plan time to bring all that makeup, to bring all the glue that you would need to apply prosthetics. Like, consider not doing it for this time. If you are, just understand that it's going to be a little bit more of a headache to figure that part out.
Or maybe find an abridged way, like something that maybe, I don't know, like if you're doing, like, this is just an example, but say someone's doing Ahsoka, maybe you do like almost like hints of Ahsoka, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, maybe don't paint your entire face, your entire head, whatever.
Yeah.
And you can find ways to still show features or whatever the case.
Yeah, and still pay homage to the character. Yeah. I mean, if you got Leku, you got to put that in a bag or something. It's going to be tough. Do I need to register to cosplay? You do not need to register to cosplay at Star Wars Celebration. If you're wearing intricate cosplay, you will need to reserve a time slot to access the changing room. So there are time slots. So you might not get the morning. What are you going to do? So they're telling you that there's going to be a little friction there. Here's where they cover it. Will there be any place to change in and out of my cosplay? Yes, there will be a male and female cosplay changing rooms that you can reserve ahead of the event. Changing rooms are locker room style, and private changing spaces will be available on site on a first come, first served basis. Private changing accommodations will be available. Minors will have priority for these spaces. Cosplay changing will cost 150 yen per day and includes access to change in and out of your cosplay as well as cloakroom access. If you have more than 3 standard size bags or 2 large bags, you will need to pay an additional reservation fee of 150 yen. Reservations will be available later this year. Please follow us on social and subscribe to our newsletter and stay up to date on all announcements.
Real quick, I don't know if we have like, and it could be updated or whatever. I have 1,500 yen per day for the changing, and then 500 for additional reservation.
Yeah. So
okay,
that's 1,500 yen is 10 US
like
dollars.
$10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not like crazy expensive, but like you said earlier, over 3 days, that's 30, US dollars. $15 to $10 a day, depending. The convention's only Friday, Saturday, Sunday, correct?
Yeah. But yeah, still, potentially $45.
Yeah. And then on site, first come, first serve. So
yeah.
We're talking thousands of people who are going to be here at Star Wars Celebration. Again, you might not get a spot. Then you're going to have to run to a bathroom. I don't know.
Also, I think it's whether you've been to one celebration or 10, I think we can all agree the worst thing about celebration is lines. And I think that'll still be the case. So, especially, anything first come, first serve, expect to wait.
And then again, I'm just like, I would hate to miss out on stuff if I'm changing at the convention. So
it's only 3 days. It's quick.
It's very fast, and it doesn't go like all night, right? It's so use your time wisely, people. You traveled all this way to this other country. Try to have fun, and if your fun involves cosplay, more power to you. But you're sacrificing time spent at the convention in the bathroom or in these locker rooms. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. No judgment. No judgment. Will there be a place to store my cosplay? Yes, we have a cloakroom available. The cloakroom location is coming soon. Cloakroom will cost 500 yen per bag. So again, that's around $3. I'm assuming. What do you think that means? It sounds like maybe a coat check type of deal.
I read it as a coat check. Like they'll have a space, same thing. You take a tag, they put your bag, and then same deal.
Yeah, I guess that would be the same for the bags and stuff because.
Yeah.
If you're carrying all of your like Mandalorian armor in a bag, you would check those. I guess they wouldn't fit in the lockers. There probably is room for lockers, but not.
Yeah, it says.
You would imagine they're like only yay big.
In the lockers, it says if you have more than 3 standard size bags. So I'm guessing like a backpack, And when they say large bags, I really only imagine like a duffel bag, So,
if that, I mean, consider Japan. They're smaller people. Everything's like
depends
smaller.
on the size of duffel bag. I'm not talking like a big. I'm talking about like a.
I'm thinking like a JanSport backpack size. Locker, not American size NFL locker room. So
I'm just hoping it says 3 standard sized bags will fit. So I'm assuming it will be fairly narrow, but maybe
tall,
a little bit.
Maybe. But again, something to consider when planning out what you're gonna do, because. I read all this before me and Eli recorded this, and not until we're like kind of dissecting it where I'm like, okay, well, I wouldn't do that, or I'm not going to do that, so this helps me as well, selfishly, try to figure out what I want to do for this convention. Are there areas of the event I cannot cosplay in? It says you may wear your cosplay in all areas of Star Wars Celebration Japan. So that's good to know. So you're safe to wear cosplay within the convention, but you also have to consider when we're leaving the convention, you got to take all that stuff off.
That's a big point too. Just because if you spend all the time getting ready, you're also going to have to get out of it because, I mean, those cosplays are awesome, but you can't leave in a K2SO cosplay and just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, droids and stuff. I didn't even think about that.
I remember, I've told this story before, but I remember in Chicago, and that's why I started doing the YouTube stuff anyways, was just because I'm like, man, that I felt pretty lost for some of it. But I remember first day, I was in the hotel. I was going down the elevator. No, I was going up. Either way, there's a guy in there, and he looks like he needs some Pedialyte. He was struggling And I was seriously, genuinely concerned. I was like, dude, are you okay? Like, do you need, I can get you a water or something? And he could barely talk. And he was like, I'm good.
Oh man.
He was wearing a Kylo Ren Templar cosplay. And
Mm.
even though it was cold, dude, he was wiped out. And even then, he got to, I'm assuming he got to put that all on before he left
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
get off
From
back to the
yeah,
hotel,
yeah.
you know what I mean? So it's like, you're going to have to carry it around. You're going to have to,
Yeah, even if you have like the hotel block, I don't know if it's connected
yeah,
to the convention center. You can't change in your hotel and then try to run across. Like it's not a, it's not. They're not encouraging that at all. So look through these, go through them again. This is gonna decide what cosplays you're gonna bring, and it definitely is for me because I had aspiring dreams to bring my blaster. I had aspiring dreams to bring my lightsaber, but with the rules and the travel, thinking about it now, it probably won't. It probably won't happen in the way I would like it to. But that's just let's just enjoy our time there and enjoy what it is. Again, we're guests and we're there to have fun. So let's try to make the best of it. Even though we'll be like
but
hand tied behind our back, props tied behind our back.
But see, I think it's sometimes, I think it'll be nice. A lot of people who this might be their first celebration, it might be their 10th, I don't know. But there's plenty of people like me who've never cosplayed,
Mm-hmm.
and like, I don't know that I would go full in anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of like wearing a black shirt and getting posed jacket is
Yeah.
like a nice, it's like almost the restriction almost helps ease my mind. It's like, all right, I don't gotta stress too much. I'm just gonna sort of bound,
Right.
right?
Yeah. No, I
Uh,
think yeah, I love that because now you feel more within you'll fit in more with the crowd than have the like outliers of the extreme cosplay and the smaller. And yes, there'll still be extreme
of
people
course.
who are going to do the extra mile, who are going to pay, who are going to get ready in the locker rooms and the bathrooms and stuff. But I think there's a great opportunity to, even for a creator like me who's been cosplaying for 10 years, I go, okay, well, I'm creative. I can think of solutions or ways around the guidelines to still make a great cosplay and bring to the convention.
Also, you know what? This might be a blessing too, because I do think that these restrictions for like, cosplayers like yourself and everything, it might help you long term with getting ready and things like that. You become innovative with how quick you can do it or
Yeah.
how easily you can take these things off or whatever the case. So, hey, blessing in disguise,
Yeah.
maybe.
Or just go, you know what? I'm not going to dress up at all. And I'm just going to go be comfortable in regular clothes in my reigncoreclothing.com shirt. Long live the empire. I bought this shirt. Bought this shirt for as low as $19.99 on reigncoreclothing.com, and I could represent Star Wars in this way and still be a part of the fandom.
We'll have to do something special for celebration.
Oh yeah, maybe a celebration shirt, a little
Maybe.
Fan Awakens
Maybe
Raincore
we'll do
action there.
maybe. Maybe.
Yeah. Keep an eye out. Check Instagram for the Fan Awakens and Raincore for sure. Any other final thoughts about the
Uh
guidelines?
Yeah, I think the last thought that I always like to leave people with, and just something I stress a million times over, is that it's so easy to get stressed and lost with planning, especially when you're going overseas or
Yeah.
you're going down the street or whatever the case. But the biggest thing with celebration is the first one I went to was 5 days, second one was 4 days, this one's 3 days,
Wow.
and like even the 5 days, it goes by so fast.
Yeah.
Just enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Like just enjoy yourself. Once you get there, things aren't going to go to plan. Maybe it all goes to plan, whatever the case. Panels, all that stuff. Whatever stress you can take out, do it. Just
Yeah, definitely. Well, with that being said, make sure you follow the Raincore YouTube channel. It's on podcast networks. If you can't listen to it on YouTube, you can listen to it on Spotify. You can listen to it on an Apple, anywhere where you can listen to podcasts. Eli, where can they find you?
you can find me everywhere at the Fan Awakens and Uncle_Sheev on Twitch, Instagram, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, reach out to Eli if you have any questions about the celebration experience. He's an expert. He's done it many a times.
Also, I want to note real quick, channel's been pretty inactive lately on YouTube, but it will be ramping up pretty much this month and going forward all the way to Celebration.
Definitely. And you're gonna find more videos about how we're prepping. Me and Eli still got to figure out hotels and flights and stuff, and we're gonna share our experience about that, the difficulties of that we're having, and that'll be fun to talk about, to maybe give you guys an idea of what to expect. And then even when that stuff's settled and the dust settles on just the traveling plans, what is our execution going to be for the convention from previous conventions? If you can't wait for that stuff, those videos of my experience at the Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim and Eli's is on his channel. So definitely go to YouTube and check that out if you want to just get a little preview of what's to come, what to expect. I think those videos will still hold up and be apt to what's coming up with Japan Celebration.
We had some early Japan talks, I think, on there. Celebration Cantina. Find it on the Fan Awakens YouTube.
Yeah. So do that. We appreciate you guys being here. Make sure you like, subscribe, and let us know what you're thinking for cosplays in the comments. Like what you think you would do or what your plan is going forward with Japan Celebration. Because I'm curious. I have ideas, and maybe you have something in mind that I didn't think of. But I'm curious to see who's going and who's not. That being said, I hope you all have a great rest of your galactic day. Punch it, Chewie. Boom. We're out of here. Bye, guys.